have to leave to go to public safety.
Yeah, you got what, yeah, is it finance?
Public safety.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I knew that it was public safety. Okay, so tell me when you're ready. You're ready. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting of Public Works to order. It's the February 28th at 5 p.m. This afternoon. I'm trusting everybody had a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day outside, so I hope everyone took advantage of it. So, if you didn't, I think tomorrow's gonna be just as beautiful. I hope.
You're there.
If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and accept the agenda as is. Before we do that, we have two items. Ms. Jetten is here on the last thing that we had, but I don't, oh, there it is on here. Okay, that is, and then Mr. Whalen.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not here. What you're here for, if you could identify that.
Volunteer park proposal,
Okay,
Tennessee United.
all right, and that is
Item 2.
Item 2. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it looked like it, but I wanted to make sure that I was right unless it was something else. Okay, and since we don't have any, is there any additions? I don't know of any at this time. All right, moving right along. If there's no objection, we don't need to move for acceptance of the agenda. Under a lot of people, believe it or not, people watch our committee meetings and they ask me, well, why don't you do it like the Board of Aldermen? Well, believe it or not, if you read Robert's Rules of Orders, our meetings are a lot more wide open, so to speak, than the actual Board of Aldermen. They have their rules are a lot different than ours. So best thing I can do is just kind of teach you along the way where that way you can be good at both rules. But we kind of freelance it a lot of times in our committees. So we'll go moving right along, but we do need to vote on the minutes. We got to need approval of the 24th, January 24th of 2023 minutes. So I need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
We got a motion. Second, proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion on the meeting? On the minutes, hearing none. Is everybody ready to vote? Anybody need the motion repeated? Hearing none. All in favor of the January 24th, 2023 meeting minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, committee. Now we are on to ordinances and resolution. The first item agenda tonight is the reading of resolution of 2023-8. It's a resolution accepting the dedication of the completed streets of Ivy Point at Patmore Place.
I move approval. Second.
Okay, there's been a proper motion, a proper second discussion. Any discussion on that? You just tell us a little bit about it then.
Sure, yeah, so this is a subdivision, Ivy Point, it's just one phase, so it's not actually, there are no other phases to come.
All right,
And it's Flintshire is the street that we are accepting, and staff has been working with them on the punch list items, and they've satisfied the requirements, so we're recommending approval.
okay, and I am really sorry, and this is embarrassing to know that, but where is that located? I'm not familiar with that street for some reason.
It's off Anderson.
Oh, okay, it's across from Auburn Creek.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, well, you should know. Well, I thank you because I did not have the opportunity to go out there, but I trust our staff, at this point, and if we see something, we can always call it to question. But all right, thank you very much. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Is everybody ready to vote? Does anybody need the resolution repeated? Hearing none. All in favor of reading of the resolution of 2023-8, a resolution accepting the dedication of the completed streets of Ivy Point at Patmore Place, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, board, our committee. Item 2, a reading of resolution 2023-09 is a resolution to adopt a revised field use policy in city parks as recommended by the Board of Parks and Recreation. First of all, I need a motion.
Move approval. Second.
All right, there's been a proper motion and proper second, and now discussion. Andy.
Page 10 through 13 in your packet. there's a staff report and then the actual policy. This in no way restricts the public from requesting use of the facilities. It gives them a path to do that before the Parks Board. We've been having some, we have so many people wanting to get in and use our facilities. This particularly pertains to the grass athletic fields and the winter months, so December, January, where we'll catch a day like today, for example, it's 70 degrees, but the fields are muddy. So everybody and their brother and sister and grandma and grandpa wants to call the office and ask if they can get on the fields. This gives our office the ability to have a policy to go by. And it gives groups a chance, like Tennessee United, for example, go through a proper channel where they have state league games or people coming in from out of state and they've planned ahead. They have a path to do that. But spur of the moment, just, hey, it's 70 degrees today, December 22nd. Can we get on the fields? We have something that gives us backbone that's supported by this board. So Parks Board voted for it unanimously. That's my story.
Great.
Keep the carts on the cart path.
That's basically what this is, the cart path only in winter months.
Do you have anybody else have any questions on it? Let me ask you this. This may be a crazy question, but stupid questions are never asked, so those are stupid. What was our policy before that?
Well, we've had a just internal kind of shutdown period. You know,
Like
fields are
no
first
one
come,
was
fields are first come, first serve, if they're open on our app, but you know, on a day like today, you want to take your travel team out to practice, you're probably not going to check the app. You're going to call our office and say, is field 12 open? And
Right,
we're going to say during this time of year, it's not reserved for practices.
gotcha. Okay, thank
Will there
you.
be a sign on the field?
There are field closed signs if the fields have been shut down. On a daily basis, we don't have enough staff or signs to go around and say this one's closed, this one's open. But we have an app that tells per field what's going on. But during this shutdown period, yes, there will be field closed signs out. If Casey wants to take her son and kick goals and the fields are listed as open, that doesn't stop her from doing that. This helps us when, just for tell them about we had a middle school soccer want to do
Yeah, they want to do a elf reindeer game.
an elf reindeer soccer game in
Soccer
the middle of December, that when the fields were wet.
Yeah, it rained for 5 days
We
straight.
kind of needed a little bit of backbone to kind of just help us say no sometimes. We like to say yes to everything.
Right.
And this will not apply to turf fields once we get them. This is for grass athletic fields.
Well, then anyone else, Mayor, do you have any issue or?
So I looked over this. I do feel like we need some sort of policies for our staff to lean on. I looked over it and had a couple suggestions. And he thought they were good suggestions, and then he thought one or two of them might not be. But I think what we have here is going to be very helpful.
On the grant that we'll use to turf
Yeah,
soccer.
We are in about step 12 of 18 of getting the state to allow us to go out to bid.
Okay.
We're daily, there's updates daily that we all get of things they have to sign off on, things we have to go in the system and approve, maps,
Okay.
contracts. So
So
we're getting there.
still several months.
From construction, yes, I feel like we'll be out to bid hopefully by the end of spring.
Okay, great. Jonathan, do you have anything to say about it, or a comment or anything to make, or?
No, sir. Sounds like they've done their homework and sounds like good policy.
All right, well, we certainly welcome you to our committee, and you can come back and see us anytime.
Let's do you at item number 6.
All right, well, we're, okay, can't wait. I'm gonna get as fast as I can get there. All right, any other discussion on resolution 2309? Hearing none, does anybody need it repeated? Hearing none, is everybody ready to vote? All in favor of reading of resolution of 2309, a resolution to adopt the Linesfield policy in city parks and recommend, which was recommended by the Board of Parks and Rec, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously. All right. that's the end of the ordinances and resolutions, so moving right along. We have under our, underneath, and we're coming to shortly. Other agenda items is our trash collection update.
Yeah, so services have essentially returned to normal, been consistent since last month. We showed the 45-day timeline just to reflect that. The misses are back down to the regular threshold, what we would expect.
Well, okay, anyone say?
No, I just have a request that when there is, because of a holiday, going to be a missed day and it's going to be bumped. Is there any way the staff can shoot an email to Bowman so that we can let our HOAs and everybody get the message out? And we just have a courtesy notification when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think we know most of the times, but it would help if you could remind us if we're going to have to defer the schedule pickup.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a list, Whitesboro, of all the holidays for the rest of the year, but I can get that out too, so if you guys want it in advance, I want to know.
Perfect.
What's the next one? Easter? Or is there a day off for Easter?
Good crowd.
I'd have to look at
I
it.
have to
I'm
look
sorry, I
and
don't
see it.
know offhand.
They don't take that one, there's not that many,
It might be Memorial Day then.
There aren't very many.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, we'll let
Those
that,
on the
we'll
city page.
write that down. I'll just,
I know.
that's a good that's a good question to ask. And Eddie's exactly right about that. Because I'm always getting well, we all, are. It's just not me, it's there, all the aldermen, all the districts in town.
We have been posting that on the city social media too, we've been pretty consistent about that, so if you ever want to go and just share that into the HOA pages or advise the HOAs to follow that page, that would be good.
Yeah, but the email would be better.
Sure.
It would, and not trying to say anything bad of anybody that gets that, but a lot of people, they just rely on their alderman. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but they do rely on us a great deal, so we always need to be up to debate or up subject to that. I don't know why I said debate. Or keep up to date. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, well, our collection update, and I will say this, I had a couple of calls on the trash, but they've been right there to pick it up. So I'm real pleased with that. I always feel that if you're doing that to all the aldermen, which they should, because people get, you know how they are about trash pickup. But if they're calling and I'm calling and they're getting picked up, the mayor's calling, they're getting picked up. So, good luck, y'all. It's making us all look better, the city, and that's what our goal is when it comes to trash. All right, great deal. Thank you for that. Let's go to item number 4, Mont Haven Green speed limit signs.
So this was a request that came from the HOA requesting the speed limit be changed from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour.
Right.
And after review, staff recommended to traffic and parking that we do reduce the speed limit. Some of the major reasons are the curvature of the roadways kind of lend themselves to a lower speed limit, as well as the fact that there's no connectivity to other neighborhoods. This really does only impact those residents that live within Mont Haven Green.
Okay, great. You know, it's a car accident.
Yes, there was one. 3
Okay.
years.
Well, I don't know, I don't live in that section, but I do know, it's always, when they request something like that, there's always maybe a problem there, and so maybe children, and the people not paying attention or something like that when they're driving, that could happen, but that's great news. I don't think I have anything else. Do they say, and I apologize, does anybody have any questions on that? All right, good. Just let us know when they're gonna put them up and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll be coordinating with Casey
Okay.
to communicate with
Great.
everyone to make sure that
Thank you.
everyone knows what's coming.
Yeah, and I apologize. This is Casey, everybody, if anybody didn't know, but I'm sure everybody knows you. They know her better than they do us.
And you wouldn't know this, I'm sure, we'll have to probably ask PD, but I understand there's a bill going through the General Assembly that would increase fines for speakers. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Okay, I'll ask the chief. He should know about that.
All right, any other further discussion on the Monhaven Green? Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
well, that was the official dog of Ward 1 there for a minute, yeah. All right, let's go now with the no parking signs on Cages Road. This was an issue, if you all, let me give you a little background on it, if you are to bring you up to speed. If you all don't remember, this was at our last committee meeting, and we asked them to come back after they had gone through planning, I believe it is, and now that if they are, they've gone back. If you want to come here and say that, it'd be great. There was an issue on no parking signs on Cages Road, so I'm going to give the floor to Tanya, and if you'll just let us know what the reality of the planning department.
So, when I talked to planning, they said they didn't see a problem with it as long as Public Works had approved it. And seemed to think that once it was done, that they'd be able to do it in-house without having to take it before they commissioned it or all going to do that. Which.
Yeah,
Well, we
thank you.
had,
That's a good question.
we had discussed doing some parallel parking across the back there in the easement. And they had a question because this is an easement here. And we were able to get permission just to go ahead and put part of a concrete parking space on it without having to have it turned back over as part of our property. And that was where I talked with Michael Dewey, he was the engineer that did this, and he said he can redo the plans and stuff, but he needed a little more direction on that. One is since we were allowed to put the concrete parking on this public easement here, would we be allowed to do that here without having the easement changed? And that's something that I brought up to planning. They said that would come back and kind of discuss with you first, make sure that was an agreement. Of course, initially we were trying to put some parallel parking on the street, like a lot of those alley loaded park subdivisions. Estimates on that are somewhere around 15,000. Estimates on doing this is about 60,000. So it's a huge price. So we'd still like to try to see if we can somehow get a request to put it on Cages Road. I know you said you had complaints, but all the tenants pull all the way off the road. And being up there, that middle section where they built those HBRs are where people are parking in the road and not off the road. And it is hard to get through there. So that's where I think the complaints were coming from and not from this section. And plus, we widened our section on our side. When they did those HBRs, they did not widen the road any down there. So that is a very narrow section of road. And then, of course, this section is supposed to be widened when they develop it. So just need a little bit more direction to give my engineer on which way to go.
Okay, questions, anyone?
So are you a developer or resident?
I developed this and own all these, and these are rentals. This is our retirement income.
So are they duplexes or single family?
So Henderson Building not want us to call them duplexes because the stigma that goes with them. So they are
Villas?
townhomes, is what they call them, but it's 2 units per building. We did a private drive that comes in the back and then all the parking is in the rear. We did allocate 2 parking spaces per unit, and I've restricted each lease to 2 registered vehicles to help cut down on that. And I'm no longer renting to anyone that has 3 vehicles where they're trying to put roommates, like 3 roommates in a place.
And what are you requesting?
Well, the city was going to put up no parking signs on the front. And, we need to overflow parking for when they have guests over or family or something like that. So we did have some parallel parking in the front that was gravelled in between each one. And we were waiting for the city to do their portion of widening, and then we were going to come in and blacktop those and make it look really nice and curb it just to have that. But initially they were going to put a swell in across the front here, but it wasn't ever put in, and it's really not warranted. You rarely see, besides just a little bit of puddling where people have been pulling in where it dents and puddles up. And then, of course, that was one option. Another option is this easement which was a
Well,
55
I'm
foot.
sorry,
That's okay.
I'm real slow.
No worries.
So are you trying to get more off-site parking for this development?
Yes.
That's the objective
Yes. I
of the
need some
developer, the owner of
overflow
the property.
over the property. I need a little overflow parking for the residents when they have guests.
And so what have you requested? Just,
Well, right now, I'm trying to work with you all to come up with something that's, cost feasible for us. But works for you all as well. And like I said, initially, we were trying to do parallel parking across the front, like the other neighborhoods that have an alley, garages or parking spaces entrances. I know the city's kind of had an issue with that. I think it's an ordinance against it because it's zoned OTR, which is Old Town Residential. So the other option is to go back into this easement, which if you're familiar with this slopes quite a bit, so it'd have to be a lot of backfill to build that section up, so you can get parallel parking there.
so is it concerned, Sarah, of public safety, getting fire engines and ambulances in if they're parked on the streets?
Yes, there's that, and then early on through the planning development process for this, in the zoning ordinance, this zoning does not allow for on-street parking. And that was communicated early on, and so we've received several complaints of the parking along here, not just yours,
Yeah.
the other one as well, but it has been this one also.
So you're asking for a variance, is she asking for a variance of our policy, of our ordinance?
Well, we can't grant the zoning variance.
No.
which I
Yeah,
think
I'm
is
we're
what
just trying to
we discussed
decide
last
which
time.
direction to go in.
We were going to install, we were
Yes.
bringing this here as an item to
Yes.
get concurrence to install no parking signs. And then Mr. Tom wanted to come and discuss this and ask us to delay installation of no parking signs while she finds a solution to the parking.
We are going to install a no parking, so that there's compliance with the zoning ordinance. And because of complaints that you've received.
Yes,
You've received complaints from these residents.
not from her residents most likely, but from other residents or users of the road. And some of those have come through police.
So you understand, we have to enforce the ordinance.
Oh, no, I do.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll speak for myself. I would think that if we're getting complaints, there's an issue with traffic in this area that the signs probably need to go up. Does that prohibit you from continuing to try to find a solution?
Well, I just asked for a little leeway on that because it does take time to get something done and to get additional parking put in place for them
So you want us to
And-
allow parking on the street until you get a solution?
without putting up a sign. And like I said, the residents aren't parking on the street. They're parking off the streets. They're completely off the street when they park. They're parking on the grass median.
Sarah?
It is within the right of way. And that's
Yeah, it is in the right of way, the grass median. But they're not hindering any.
I mean, I don't think this committee, I don't think we have the authority to waive that ordinance, and that's really what she's asking for, is to not put
Yeah,
signs up and not prohibit parking in the right of way. And I really don't think that we have that authority to do that. I mean, we can get a legal opinion, but I mean,
Well, I
We're
wasn't
bound.
asking you not to, I was just asking to delay it so I could get this worked out with the additional parking. put in.
So last month she came in and asked for time and we granted her until this meeting.
yeah.
yeah, I agree with Eddie. Excuse me, I should usually wait till last. So is anybody, I apologize.
No, you-
Do you have anything on, David? Do you have anything to say on this? I mean, questions or comments or anything?
No, I don't think we can grant the variance.
I don't think we can. I agree with you. You know, after further study and even driving by it and looking at it, I'm not sure that what Eddie had said, in fact, that he took kind of the words right out. Mine was whether this committee has the authority to do that. I'm not sure that's the case. And if we did, I think we would be over bounds. I would love to say that we can, but we cannot, because there's plenty more. No. But the ordinance is the ordinance, you know.
It opens up precedent.
Sure does, and that's,
And and also liability. So,
well, yes, it's liability to
So-
me.
So are you looking to put up no parking signs on all streets that are zoned OTR? Because I mean, I go down a lot of those streets and they all park in the streets on all of those. I've numerous times. I own a duplex on Haven Street and they do it over there. I mean, they do it on a lot of other ones that I'll cut through there. And so I mean, they're all parking in the street. It's
We don't survey for the issue, but if it's reported and we receive requests and, they're validated, then that's when we evaluate
That
our
triggers.
installation of the
Right.
sign.
That's the triggering mechanism of the ordinance as far as how it's enacted or played into. If someone calls, and we get calls all the time, I do know that. And some of it is warranted, seriously warranted, and other times it's really not, it's just. It was a problem for them and they wanted to call and report it. But on this particular issue, I've been down cages a couple of times to look at this and. I don't know how we can do that, or the committee can.
well, so, and I do understand that. So then we need to look at the easement and like planning, say when discussing it, they did seem to think the 55-foot easement was excessive. And just, I've been over there during multiple stages, like flood stages, and there's no water in it.
And that just has to be validated through planning submission with drainage calculations.
So you would be requiring drainage calculations. Are we looking at having to take a piece of that back or being able to put something on there?
That really could go either way. If you place it within an existing easement, you do accept liability that if for whatever reason we have to do any maintenance work within that easement and that concrete is damaged, you take full responsibility for that. The city would have no liability if it's within an easement.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that, so. Because yeah, we're looking at maybe, I think 9 foot coming off into there just for some parallel parking is all we're looking at. We're not looking at taking a whole lot of it. We're not gonna go in straight. It's just
Yeah,
too costly to do that, so. So we're looking at having to redo the plans with drainage calculations and just showing a parallel.
yeah, and I think, well, and this would be a discussion probably more for planning. Probably the level of plans that they want to see, but if they do it as a staff approved submission, then it wouldn't necessarily have to be probably a full plan set. But the calculations would be necessary to make sure that the easement's not needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so it would go through them and not back through you all.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that's it.
I wish I had better news for you, but it's a. I know that, when you live, you'll say, oh, man, I can't believe it, but it's a serious issue all over old sections.
Well,
of
and
Hendersonville.
And I hope you understand our frustration because we actually had these things planned out where they had additional parking space. And the city refused to let us do it that way and took them out. So we're kind of put in that situation because of the city didn't plan the additional parking. Which makes it kind of hard on us and, you can't keep tenants if there's no place for visitors to park. So,
I do sympathize with it. I genuinely do. But that's where we stand. I mean, I hate to just tell you.
I get it. Okay, I will get started on the plans. In the meantime, do you know when the signs are going up?
No, I'll have to coordinate with our road superintendent on that, yeah.
If you could give me some warning on that.
Sure.
So I can let my tenants know.
Yeah.
And see,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, how much is a parking fine?
I believe it's.
55, I think it was $50.
Believe, I'm not 100% certain on, that, but I believe.
It's, I'm almost sure.
our city judge will be here tonight if you want to wait and ask him. Judge Edwards.
That's okay.
But I know the maximum fine under state law, $50.
Yeah, because I mean, this isn't something I can get done overnight or in a month. That's why I was asking for just a few months to try and get something done and instead of, just popping them on this right at the last minute.
Well, what I would do is I would speak with you all, and maybe you all can work out something like saying, I'm trying to get this done, and maybe you can work out a time frame on that.
Yeah, and I could be, I've talked to Michael and he said it wouldn't take him too long to get them done. I just want to make sure I understood what all you need to do, so I didn't do something extra that I didn't need to pay for or anything like that.
And if he wants to just come in and schedule a meeting with planning and public works, and we can just discuss that, so he's got clear scope.
Okay. All right.
Might be a good idea for him to do that, honestly. Both public work and get a meeting together, scheduled with public works and planning department. But that's up to you and then him to decide that.
Well, planning said they pretty much was leaving it on you as to what was needed. They said they just needed to see it on the drawing, so
Yeah.
if that's what planning for, so all you're doing is that, and then you need drainage calculation, that should be in a without me having to pay for a meeting.
Sure, okay, well, I didn't know that we could do that. That's
Yeah,
cool, okay,
you're basically having to pay payments an hourly rate. so.
I got you, okay. All right,
Okay, all right, thank you.
all right, thank you very much, and again, I'm sorry. But it's good to see you again.
Oh, you too. Okay.
Okay, number 6. The volunteer park requests for proposal.
So a few months ago, we kind of got direction from Bowman to put out an RFP for anyone that might be interested in some of our athletic facilities that we basically at this point don't have the money to develop. So we put out an RFP for volunteer park. And we had 2 responses, both in your packet. Staff kind of evaluated these, and in the staff report on page 20 and 21 is an analysis of both of them. If BOMA directs us to continue to work on this project, I guess we would call it, we would recommend that we take a step further, the plan from Tennessee United Soccer Club, which is one of our local soccer groups. Both these gentlemen here are, Jonathan's with Tennessee United Soccer Club, and I got your name on my phone, sorry.
Andrew Walters, that's
Andrew
right.
Walters.
Catalyst, yes.
From the Catalyst Design Group. They are worked on this project together in this presentation together. Their proposal is in your packet, I believe.
Yeah, I was just reading.
Very detailed. The first proposal was a good proposal, but it basically was saying, here's what we can do for you. You pay for it, you do it. Here's what we can do. Tennessee United is more wanting to take on the project themselves. Yeah, with all kinds of. Here we go. You can see the phases that they have in their proposal. They talk about costs, they talk about the reach. Page 54 of your packet's a good page. Where it kind of lists the phases that they talk about. Volunteer Park, as you know, we currently have a lot of land there. We have the hockey rinks that are at the front part, along with concession stand. And one grass athletic field, and we have the middle section. Where it's not developed at all, and the back section is where the current police force barn is, so. I think there's nothing really for you to vote to approve on out of these proposals. I think y'all correct me if I'm wrong, going down the wrong path, but maybe your vote would be to direct staff to further work with Tennessee United to bring back a more detailed proposal to maybe this committee or capital projects. I'm not sure how exactly, this is kind of new territory for the city, honestly. You know, I think further than this, you would want us to show get into the weeds of what would a land lease look like? How do we get to that point?
Well, your only decision and you all, if you all feel that I'm wrong on this, please let me know. The for capital projects, it has to be a certain amount of money that the threshold is. So which I don't have any problem because I'm on both committees.
Right.
And the committee is run by an eloquent gentleman that I happen to know. And he's a good fellow and he's very good at it as being the chairman, so that really is immaterial to us. But as far as that goes, my recommendation is and please correct me, or if you all have any questions, we'll do this, is to continue on. And till you get to that point of how much do you think it's gonna cost the city or the whole project will be?
Yeah, sure, and it's a multi-million-dollar project. How much they would ask of the city to be a part of it is unclear still. So,
Right, and we need to know that.
Right.
really.
So is anyone from the company or from the league be able to answer that question tonight?
No, I don't think so. I think really we are putting this proposal together as something that's needed for the community and the organization. So we would like to engage in further dialogue as far as not a partnership, but because we're already partners, but just kind of a joint communication and what this could look like and what we can do with this and how it can look and who can use it. We know the costs. We've got plans to fund it on our own. If we need to do it in phases. But I think this is definitely a continued discussion and dialogue with the parks and the city on what we can do for this project is going to be great for the community for many, many, many years. And our organization's been here for 18 years and a good partner in this community and in the Parks Department. So I think that's the route we would prefer instead of, hey, you guys go do this. And then, I think this is gonna have to be a joint effort. Wouldn't you agree? Yes.
talking to me,
Yes.
I think we would have to maintain use of the facility, which I don't know what that's gonna trigger as far as our ability to help fund it. You all know we've discussed ad nauseum funding needs of the city. So I think it's gonna be a big project. And it is needed, there's no doubt about it. For them to take on the majority of the burden would be a blessing.
Well, it would be, but there needs to be some serious discussion on this, because that's huge, it's a huge project.
I mean, it would involve, you're talking about parking lots, you're talking about site work, you're talking about the area that a horse barn currently is located. You're talking about areas that other sports utilize, that front field next to the hockey rinks is used by soccer, lacrosse, rugby, and flag football. So it is many moving parts. But I think if this committee agrees with staff that this is the best proposal for us to move forward and bring you something more concrete back, I think that's what we're looking for tonight, is your direction to work with them further.
So this plan that we're looking at assumes that we would need to move the PD horses, the cavalry, I guess that's what you call it, or cavalry.
I mean, the barn itself could be utilized by what we're doing. I would think, and I've heard, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard that there might be a need to move the horses, yes.
But with this design, that area would be needed. It's
Yes.
okay to say that.
Yes.
That area on this plan, that area that currently is 8 acres of grazes would be an indoor facility with a bubble over it and a turf field.
So Andy, would it be possible for us to move the horse barn to, it's not called Bates Farm, what's it called?
Heritage Park.
Heritage Park. Is that an allowable use for a passive park? The mounted patrol?
I would think that would be a wonderful use.
Okay,
I think we didn't have that park when the horse barn was built, or that's probably where they'd be now.
so my question from a staff perspective, is this the best place to put this complex, or would it be better at Durham? Now, I know there's a lot more site preparation. at
Here's
Durham.
my answer to that would be, knowing what I've witnessed over the last few years in floodplain areas and floodways. That property at Durham across the creek is in a floodway. And I personally would not want to build something as extravagant as this complex,
Okay,
knowing that it's gonna flood at some point.
okay.
I think that'd be a bad use of money.
So, I'll make a motion, we can have discussion more, but I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal by United Soccer. And for the staff to continue to develop the plan. And at the appropriate time, bring back to this committee.
Okay.
A revised, more finalized plan.
Okay.
So it's got two parts. First, we approve. From looking at the two, they're the best for sure. So approve it, the design, and direct the staff to continue to work and bring back to this committee whenever. But is that all you need?
I think so. I think that's what we were looking for, is
Some
a
guidance.
little higher power than us to just
Right.
say, let's go.
Second.
Yeah, there's been a proper motion and a proper second. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none. I think that's an order, a motion, it's definitely an order on a project that is as big as this one. Hearing no further discussion on the issue, is everyone ready to vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes unanimously. So you got your work cut out, all of you did. I meant to ask this, and of course, it's kind of, it's immaterial because the motion is passed. This did pass the Parks Board, right?
This has not been, their proposal itself has not been to the park.
Okay, it's not, I was just wondering whether it had. Will it go to?
It would, for sure.
Well, if you would let them know that we did.
I don't think we would take anything until we had the more detail.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So, I'll talk to you later about that.
All right. Thank you all very much. And we look forward to working with you.
What I would say about that is the
Yeah.
Parks Board, many years ago, when the original site plan for Volunteer Park was created,
Right.
it was very similar. What they approved to begin with was
Okay.
very similar to this without an indoor facility. It was for the whole thing to be athletic fields,
Okay. All right, good deal.
not that they have too much say so over it.
Well,
They've looked at the site before, let's put it that way.
sure, that's, yeah. And that is important.
Sure.
So. All right, well, that is all on the volunteer park RFP moving. Right along. Thank you all for coming.
I'll tell Tom I'll be the motion.
Probably tell yourself.
Thank you. Y'all need to pay off. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, mosquito control. Yeah, it's that time of year again, the old mosquito control.
It is. So this last year, I was fairly new in this position and I was trying to get a handle on where we were spraying, where we weren't spraying, why. We don't have any policy in place.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I contacted Erica and our city reporter and just asked for any documentation they had as far as why we started treating for mosquitoes to begin with. And so,
Good luck on that.
yes.
It's smart too, because if you're not careful, this subject will bite you.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and there are very strong opinions on both sides. We
I
have
know.
a listing of requests for no spray within the area of people's homes. We have received multiple calls with people concerned about the bee population,
Yeah.
saying they're seeing less and less bees. And so one of the other things that we did in looking at this, I called the other municipalities around lakes and things like that to find out what they did.
Yeah,
And we are the only municipality that I found around us, like Gallatin, Mount Juliet, none of them have a pest control policy. Where none of them spray for mosquitoes. So I put together a little PowerPoint with some of the information that I found, and what I'm looking for today is I would like for us to come up with a policy. on if we continue to spray, what triggers us to make that decision where we will or will not, or, you know, whatever we want to do, but to have it as a policy, just so staff knows how to proceed, and
Do we spray at the parks?
we
Do
do.
we have a regular program in the park?
Not all parks, but we do regularly spray at Sanders Ferry Park.
Where there's water. That could,
And something interesting about that, and not saying that we don't need to ever spray at the parks, but mosquitoes are most prevalent in around stagnant water. Whereas they say they're less likely to be reproducing around lakes and things like that, where you have really very living, flowing body of water.
Yeah.
So it is typically smaller stagnant bodies.
We're, just over my years of experience, which take it or leave it, it's just like an assumption. Of what happens is a lot of the older side of town, where we have stagnant water going through creeks and things like that. I can think of several, because I mean, I'd be here all night counting the places that I know that I've been. That is also an area that we need to look at. And the city's been good about going over there and taking care of those places, especially in wards 1, 2, and 3. And maybe a little bit of 6 down there off of, I can't think of the road, starts with a C, and I'm sorry, I should know that, but I don't. But we have some creeks down there. God, I can't think of that road. It's a main road. What is a main, there's a stop right at New Sh-
oh,
Old Shack.
what, Jim?
Walton Ferry,
No,
Your mother lives on.
Washington.
yes, yes, I don't know why I couldn't do it. But anyway, I don't know why. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Good son, good son. But anyway, there's a creek down there that there's always one needs attention, certain sections of it. So,
Let's start going.
I think we probably do need to get it.
Yeah, you have PowerPoint?
Yes. I do.
Oh, okay, I did not know that. Well,
That's great. Back. Oh, darn it. Sorry, this is through well, there we go. Okay. All right, so this is basically the history. There were discussions in 1992 in some of the Beaumont minutes
Yeah.
that no policy was ever created, and we have some conflicting priorities, basically. So that's why we're discussing this today. So this map reflects the red is where they used to spray,
Right,
from what I've gathered. And the red is where we have a request for spray now, these little things here. And then the current spray area is pretty much this route down here,
yep,
this, and then Sanders Ferry Park. And then we have these black triangles are the requests for no spray, no treatment. And then this is well, that. Can't see that. Get away from it, sorry. Well, it's permacease. That's the chemical, and the main component of that is permethrin. A lot of folks are familiar with. We also provide larvicide, and this is Vectovac, and basically it's they spray it, but it's a form of bacteria that basically causes mosquitoes and other pests, I guess. It causes them not to be able to breathe. It actually suffocates them. So those are the 2 treatments we currently.
it's really interesting, kind of makes me feel good in my memory, because if you go back, you'll look at that. And those were the wards that I said, Ward 2, and that was before redistricting. Obviously, it's different now, but it's pretty basically what I said, wards 2, 1, and then maybe a little bit of 6. So it made me feel good that I could remember that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I had to pat myself on the back a little bit, because I normally don't.
So the goals we're looking at are protection from viruses, protection of bee population, minimize chemical exposure, and then of course, cost efficiency. And so some of the viruses that people are most concerned about, that are concerned with mosquitoes or West Nile Dang, I'm not gonna try that one, Zika and malaria. But per CDC website, most types of mosquitoes in the United States are nuisance mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes do not spread germs that make people sick. It's actually like 12 out of 200 species of mosquitoes.
Have we had any positive hits from these viruses in mosquitoes?
I've requested that information from Sumner County Health Department and I have not received, they've been responsive, but they're not prepared to issue anything currently. So protection of the bee population, again, this is the chemical that we spray for the adulticide. It is more toxic than the larvicide. It is extremely toxic to fish and aquatic invertebrates, and it's highly toxic to bees. And not just spraying and touching bees, but also if we spray in areas where bees are pollinating within the near future, it is highly toxic. Minimize chemical exposure. Again, this is about the premises. This particular product does cause systemic nervous system effects, as well as increased organ weights from toxicity and possibly carcinogenic.
This is to humans,
Yes.
correct?
This is to humans.
And where was this, what site did this come from?
This is from the safety data sheet for Perma-Cease UC 2020.
So from the company.
That's right. Cost efficiency, the average monthly cost per fogging for what we do right now, which you saw is not a whole lot of cities, approximately $6,000 a month. And then the average monthly cost for the larvicide is approximately $1,500.
And we contract that out.
That's right. Yes,
How often is it being done?
once a week they're looking to start within the next month or two.
And then how many months, like the entire summer usually?
Yes. Okay. In the early. The recommendations from staff after reviewing this would be public education for private property owners. The state has a lot of information out there about this, as well as other resources, which again would be the state. EPA has a lot of information, as well as the CDC. But then as far as the rest of the policy, whether we continue to spray or offer larvicide.
So what's the liability risk to the city after listing those health byproducts, human health? So what's the risk to the city if someone was to get sick with that
Sure.
and sue the city?
So I think that we'll always assume some risk for that, but I think the majority of that liability will be on the contractor that sprays those chemicals. But we also are responsible for identifying the route where we will or will not, provide those treatments. So I think we're always going to carry some level of liability, but they carry the bulk.
And no other cities do this but us in Tennessee?
That from those that I've contacted around us, they do not.
It's so strange.
So have we already contracted with them for this year?
We do have an existing contract. It is set to be up this year. But we also have, we have the discretion to alter routes, or there's no quantity of treatment that's guaranteed through our contract.
My gut feel, if that's what you're wanting, just a discussion, my gut feel is that we stop doing the spraying except where there's problem areas, those few little red dots, when there's complaints, we spray. But we do the larva
Larvicide.
larvicide. We do that. Does that have the same health risk as aerosol?
No, it's much less.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be to go forward that way and look at it for a year or two and see if we get a lot of complaints. What do y'all think?
Go ahead.
What's the efficacy of the both, of two different types?
That's a great question. I do not know that.
So it'd be nice if we looked at how effective the larvicide is, and maybe we can. It's cheaper, it's
Safer.
safer, I think it would be less damaging to bees. Do we know where we have bee populations? Is there a way we would know that?
There are groups that kind of map out where there are hives and things like that. It's not 100% obviously, and. You know, we don't want to affect what they're pollinating, and that's difficult to determine, even if we know where their hives are. But the larvicide is, I believe the SDS sheet for that said essentially non-toxic to bees.
Yeah, my only suggestion would be, I know in at least on the Walton Ferry side, obviously over the years, we do have a lot of bee. I have one particular, there's a nice lady that lives on Cumberland Shores and is really good about the bees. I mean, she has them every year. And I don't blame them. I've looked at them, I've seen them, and it's fascinating how they work. You know, it's amazing to me. But at the same time, we get other calls that are on, and I'll go over and look, and man, they're out there and their kids are playing. You know, they don't have anywhere else to play except out in their backyard, but yet there's water standing in a creek that's behind where their fence is, and of course you can't, you know, what are you gonna do about that?
Yeah.
Except try to help them. I certainly don't want to put, at which I gotta tell you something, back when I first came on the Board of Aldermen, honest God, sure, there were people literally putting diesel fuel.
Yeah.
Not only in the creeks, but in Old Hickory Lake, because of, you know, of course, the Corps of Engineers now sprays and that kind of thing on parts of the codes in the codes of the lake of Old Hickory. So I think that's the proper approach. I'm not sure, I don't know. I just need for y'all to do research on it and really come back to us, because I think it is an issue. I mean, and it may not be an issue for the people over on, you know, where the water is not as pervasive as it is over in the area in which I represent, but it is a problem over there. It really is. And so we'll continue to look at it and come back to us when you find out a lot of the answers, and have a proposal for us to look at and read, because it's important. Even though we're the only ones, which really amazes me, that our city would be the only one in Middle Tennessee area that does it. It's
I
amazing.
call it every city in Middle Tennessee.
No, I
that
know
does
you
those
did,
around
but
us.
still,
Gallup, you go.
yeah.
out.
And
They have
they,
a lot of water up there.
And Mount
Yeah.
Juliet as well.
oh, yeah. Well, they would, Percy Priest goes on there, and as well as Old Hickory Lake, you know, Mount Gilead, and that really surprises me that Gallatin and Mount Gilead don't do that at all. We're the only ones that do it. So, anyway,
Well, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I think we always need to look how we're doing things and
Yeah.
examine them
Yeah.
and see if it's still needed.
Mhm.
So I would like, you know, Alderman Martin's questions about the efficacy.
Mhm.
I would like to get a bid of just hitting the spots that people complain. What about the parks, Andy? Do y'all want spraying continue?
I
in the
mean,
parks?
looks like all we're having it now is Sanders Ferry, if that's accurate.
Yeah.
Since I've been here, I've not had many complaints about them at Drake's Creek, which is surprising because we have a ton of stagnant water there. We have had requests from events to have Sanders Ferry sprayed, and we've let them know that it's already being sprayed. So I haven't had a lot of complaints about mosquitoes. We get more complaints about bees.
yeah,
Because they nest, I mean, they build hives and hornets.
we have a lot of them
Wasps.
over on that side of Andersonville, a lot of people.
Yours are more like the hornets and the little things that.
Hornets, bees and wasps are what
Yes,
you
the
can call
cost
them.
of doing the larvicide and also with the
Mhm.
spraying as needed
Mhm.
instead of the regular $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the cost for larvicide, just to maintain the areas that we are maintaining now, or do you like a more broad?
But no, it's
Approach.
working.
And it
Yeah,
is
I mean, you know, of course, you're gonna have to have a little extra just in case if people start calling. Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I agree with that, just what the calls are.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's passive.
Yes.
Is the spray product that we're using, is that one of the better ones on the market? We're not using an old one that has cheaper but more dangerous.
Right, no, I mean, it's in line with the current pest control practice. Yeah,
So just for my information, we're gonna keep spraying Sanders Ferry if I'm asked. For now, we're gonna keep it.
I understand.
Right.
Because we've not let people, just give you an example, we had a request for somebody to spray Sanders Ferry in exchange for being a sponsor. And we didn't want to double spray. That was double, not good, so.
Can you make the map of where the common areas are available to us in parks? Excuse me.
I can email the PowerPoint.
Just for the record, one of our committee members stepped out. We still have a quorum. So Mr. Roberson is here as well as I am, so we still have a quorum, so we're continuing on our discussions. Thank you. All right. Any other further discussion on this? Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention, because that is important.
Thank you.
Because people will get that in the height of summer, I promise, especially with us, where it's always raining, it gets muggy. And, but thank you, and keep us up to date on that.
Okay.
Light synchronization update.
So we have broke ground, so to speak. They have staked out the project where they're gonna be installing fiber.
Okay.
So that's good news. Starting on the first, hopefully weather permitting, they're going to begin excavation at Bonita toward the west
Is that in the right of way?
on the right of way. So we'll be notified of any closures and traffic impacts that they are beginning on.
Yeah, they didn't anticipate having a bunch of those.
No.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So Sarah, while they do that, is there a rationale under planning that I'm sure it'll be a conduit, the fiber will be a conduit,
Yes.
that we ask them to put some vacant fiber in there for us for whatever reason?
They are.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
then,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We included that with since we had to revise the plans,
Yes.
we included that.
so they start March the 1st,
So
and they're starting Main Street first.
that's right.
And are they given any estimated time of completion? Has it changed?
No, the timeline has not changed.
And I'm sure that every time we meet with them, we're pushing them.
Absolutely, yeah. And they are, they're working other things kind of behind the scenes with the controllers. We've sent over the majority of the timings to them. They're loading those at their shop, and then they're just gonna go out and do very streamlined installation. So traffic signals will only be in flash for a minute or two while they put a new controller in.
And do you get reports, construction progress reports from them? How often?
Yes, we're gonna be having, I'm in regular contact with, we have a construction engineering inspector
Mhm.
consultant. I'm in regular contact with them. They're inspecting on a daily basis, and then we are having monthly construction coordination meetings, which the mayor's requested to be involved with this.
Perfect, perfect, thank you.
Yes,
You can tell this is of utmost importance
yes.
to this committee.
It's good news, it's real good news. So they're moving right along. I'll probably report on that tonight at the board. Depending on how long our board meeting is, but I don't expect it to be very long tonight. Saunders Ferry Road Greenway update.
So we're moving right along. You probably see the new concrete passport along Main Street is now wrapping back around from Koya along the lakeside. We have received the submittal for the boardwalks, and they are the design for the boardwalks, and they are in review by the design firm. So just make sure that they met all of the specifications requirements, so. Those, I believe they're anticipating to start those in March, late March or early April.
And we already have the core approval
Yes,
to proceed.
yes, we have all of our
Core
permits.
engineers.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be any kind of parking at La Jolla, the end of the green line?
No, not specific to this project. And of course, there's the existing parking for the restaurant and the little commercial area next to
Well,
it.
they wouldn't must use their parking.
No, they do not.
And
They
we
do
should.
not, no, but there are options to park at Memorial Park. There's a sidewalk access. They can connect that way.
Memorial Park.
Yes. Or the Drake's Creek South, maybe.
Memorial Park, where the tennis courts are, people can park there and they'll be able to walk right out of the park all the way to Lincoln and keep on going.
And then there's also, of course, there's the connection at Mallard Point. They wanted
Yes.
to start at that end, or there's the little small boat ramp across from Spade, I believe it is.
Do we anticipate that the parking lot at Drake's Point is adequate? With the additional traffic expected to use the greenway, park there and walk?
Honestly, I haven't evaluated that.
Okay.
That's something we'll probably need to take a look at.
Good.
And anticipates being popular.
Oh, yeah, it will be. A lot of people will be excited about the adventures.
And I want to say to Casey, she really pushed the Greenway to Channel 4 and really had them all excited about going, taking pictures of it. You know, really highlighted that. So well done.
Kudos to you.
Thank
you.
It really was.
Yes.
Good job. Do we have a company taking pictures of the progress? Doing a field reports and stuff like that by any chance?
Yes.
Someone in the city?
So we have a construction engineering inspector on this project as well. They're on site daily. As far as daily pictures from staff, no,
Okay.
we don't have that, but I did ask, we have a GIS technician, JP, who also flies a drone. And he actually went out today and collected some drone footage, and I've asked him to do that kind of incrementally through the project. So and he has some footage from before it started already.
Well,
so-
just make sure he doesn't use a pollute, would you?
All right, I'll tell you. So we should have.
Is that something that the Bowman members can receive and share with their boards? Because everybody's really excited about that.
Yeah, I don't, that's definitely not my area of expertise. I don't know what those file sizes are. I haven't seen it yet. It was still uploading. when
I
he
think
left
that's all
today.
behind those was that kind of as we get towards the end, it would be great to take a video and kind of show the transition of the board,
Yeah.
kind of show how it ends.
Yeah,
I have been doing some periodic, I just went out last week and did some video and posted it on social media on a couple different ways, just because residents are excited to kind of show their progress. So I had certainly shared that with you and.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, for the record, Mr. Martin came in 6:05, came back. Sorry. Oh, that's okay. No, you got, I've had that happen to me before. And it will probably happen again during budget a lot. On the old years. Any further discussion on the Greenway update? Sounds good. Any questions thereafter going on to other business? Do you have any other business? Anybody have any other business?
Tell us about the new engineer. I mean, you hired an additional engineer, so you're still one shy of having a full staff.
Yeah. That's right, yes. Yeah, so we hired Trey Lavender. He graduated from UT in December. And he joined us, this is his second week, I believe it is, and he's been doing really well so far. He's been blowing through the work Steven's been
Good.
giving him. He's the assistant city engineer.
So I would appreciate, Mr. Chairman, if you would hit, or maybe Jesse or the mayor is going to, or maybe the parks is this trash pickup on The 25th?
Yeah, beautiful Henderson, so the presentation.
Oh,
Everybody,
never mind,
Slides are made.
never mind.
So they're doing a presentation tonight.
Yeah. They're
Okay.
They will be here.
Lovely.
They'll be doing that and help to get some slides together and you're all set.
So I wonder if we could, do you have a list of HOAs?
I
in
do
the
not.
City. I wonder if we
Wish I
could,
did.
yeah, I wonder if we could try to elicit community support in that. Try to, other than just put something on social media, is to actually try to get scout groups or somebody to, a little more organization in that.
We're trying to push out a lot of different ways, and I went to the last Beautiful Hendersonville meeting. And they had a lot of different ideas. They're going to the schools and kind of passing it on to kind of talk it up and talk about litter. They have asked about trying to get into the chamber and do a presentation to those businesses so that they can kind of help get it out and maybe post flyers up inside their businesses, so. We're just trying to work with that to kind of see. They haven't gotten a definite okay from the chamber, but they are working on a lot of ways. I'm trying to help them how I can to help make sure we're using multiple avenues to get that word out. It's not.
Additionally, Public Works printed out several brochures for her to pass out in the schools. They were going to the schools to talk about litter.
Yeah, we printed out 100 to take around to the park.
Of the flyers. Awesome. Yes, we're getting it out there.
Good news.
Yeah.
All right.
Should be a good event.
Any other questions on that at all? Anything else? Mr. Burdor, do you have anything on Public Works yet? Yeah, it hadn't been raining yet. All right. All right, we've had a good discussion tonight. Andy, anything that we need to know about or anything?
No, sir.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
deal. I saw you, you were at some, I think you were at a concert. I saw a picture of you on.
It's shocking.
Yeah. But you look good. You look like you're having a good time and that's great.
Yeah.
Not nothing bad.
I hang out with better looking people than me.
All I know is that at that event, when they called him up on stage to sing, and I'd stick with you, Dave.
Gladly do that. Gladly do.
But I'm glad we were well represented, so. It was
It
good.
was unplanned, by the way.
All right, well, hearing, if there's no objection, I just need a motion. To adjourn, motion to adjourn. All right, I'm gonna adjourn about 6:12. 13, let's say 13. All right, good deal. Good meeting. Very good meeting.
Thank you.
Yes.